Hello everybody, it's Andrew's Weather Predictions here. Um, Today I'm back with another video. Currently we have a dying complex of thunderstorms that's on the Florida Keys, and then we have another batch forming up further to the north. That is expected to bring a round of severe weather to the Florida Keys tonight. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch right now. Um, we also do have some outlooks here, so let's get into it. So here's your day one storm prediction center outlook. Slight risk, 2 tour, 15 wind, 5 hail. This was an enhanced risk for 30% chance of wind damage. Currently, here's a look at the map. And we can see here a line of strong thunderstorms down here. And then nothing really else is happening right now, to be honest with you. Let me open up the Weather Prediction Center and just slap them down like right there. Something that we're going to be talking about first, though. We do have this dying line of thunderstorms here to play the loop here. It's pretty much died. Now the new round is forming right here. So something to watch there, but over the last few days, that outbreak I talked about, or the potential tornado event that I talked about a couple days ago, it ended up producing 2 EF2s, 6 EF0s, and 7 EF1s. Nobody died. And then that outbreak that happened on the 9th through the 11th, we ended up sadly seeing one person die from an EF3. We had one strong tornado, and then all the rest of these 9 tornadoes were weak. We do look back at that event list here. This was the day, I believe, we started uploading on the 6th. We saw that Kansas event. The day before that, we had that Minnesota event. Then boom, there's your. This actually ended up going 10% torque, 30% wind, 15 hail. Then the next day went 2 torque, 15 wind, and 5% hail. Ended up having kind of Texas pop off. We ended up having a couple EF2 tornadoes. Then the next day we had a severe weather outbreak occur, verified to a moderate, and we ended up having a moderate in place, but it was kind of for the wrong probabilities. The moderate was in place for damaging winds, and we ended up having a hail verification moderate. Now the wind was more or less verified as a 45% non-sig, and then the tornadoes verified as either a 5% or 10 sig. The next day, April 10th, we ended up having an enhanced risk across portions of the South. This ended up bringing several tornadoes to areas including Michigan. The day 1 6Z outlook, we ended up having a marginal stretching from southern Michigan. And as you see here with the 20Z outlook update, we had a 2% torque all the way up there. So that's interesting. A couple of the watches that got issued, we ended up having this was the big boy watch. We ended up having a watch issued with probs of 50, 30, 70, 60, 20, 20 for the 9th. Then if we go all the way back to the 7th, we ended up having a watch issued. This ended up being end up having 70, 40 probs, 80, 20, 50, 30. And then today's reports. We haven't really had that 30% verification yet. I will say, hail probably verified to a 15%. I ended up personally putting a 15. Wouldn't maybe verify to like a 15% probably so far. Hail verified. There hasn't been any tornadoes confirmed at least so far. Here's kind of an overview of the next few days. The Storm Prediction Center has a day 2 risk as well across Texas for hail and wind. It potentially could go slight and potentially add a 2 tour. Day 2 and then day 3. Kind of look at the fronts map here. It's possible we get severe weather Wednesday afternoon across the south here. There's a scenario where the low pressure gets sat up here and we end up getting severe weather. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Kind of overview it. After that, the pattern looks relatively quiet. Maybe we'll get a system next week, but it probably won't do too much. Heavy rain is likely across the south, though, over the next few days. 3 to 4 inches is not out of the question, and in the Northeast as well. Let's go look at the HRRR first, and then we're gonna take a look at your NAM 3K, and then we'll look at the 21Z wrap loaded. So we'll look at the wrap too, kinda take a look at what it's showing. We're gonna zoom into Florida though. We're gonna be mainly looking at Florida, and then we're gonna look at Texas, and then we're gonna look at Louisiana. There's kind of a couple things there. We'll talk about it. We'll analyze stuff. You know the drill. So this is right around 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Let me just speed this up. So this is 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. There's 12, there's 1. We start to see pretty significant line of thunderstorms starts to form, and it ends up drifting southward, producing some very large hail, potentially strong damaging winds, and maybe a tornado. Look at the environment it has in front of it to work with. That's a tornado-producing environment. We're really going to have to watch the Keys tonight. 1,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE isn't bad. The low-level jet is decent. The hodograph is a bit wonky, but pretty good hodograph. And the storm's got to dive down, interact with the cold waters there. Isolated showers and thunderstorms out of the question tomorrow, and then Florida dries out. Now it's the Central Texas show. I believe this would be the right sector to look on here. We'll see. We'll see. Nothing is gonna happen today in Texas. Alright, this is the right area. So we're gonna have isolated supercells to fire off tomorrow afternoon in Texas. Environment. If you take a look at soundings here, it's mainly favorable for large hail and damaging wind gusts. I could see a 15% significant risk of large hail. One thing, though, is that these storms are going to be very short-lived. They're going to die, and then they're going to regain strength. And it's going to be one of those kind of days. And you can see here, more thunderstorms start popping on Tuesday. If we end up looking at the state of Louisiana, just take a bit of a loop at the radar here for them, because that's our next area of focus. Isolated showers, leak showers to move in Tuesday morning. Tuesday, boom. This is Tuesday around early afternoon. We see a band of strong thunderstorms starts to develop with probably some large hail. Then you see here we have a strong cluster of thunderstorms with gusty winds, maybe a tornado at this point, and some large hail there. End up taking a sounding. Let me get a non-contaminated reading here. So here's a sounding. It's got a bit of capping inversion, but it's veered enough to support some isolated supercells. It's extremely moist, which is going to be a problem with this event. Some lapse rates are steep in the middle levels, but the lower levels will not be steep. 3 CAPE is not too terrible. Now, let's get a look at the NAM nest. We're going to look at the region, but we're going to be mainly looking at, again, like Saturday time period. Okay. Monday afternoon, boom, there's your thunderstorms. They move off to the north, and new rounds end up forming. But let's take soundings right around the initiation period. Let's just see what the NAM nest wants to show us. And, yep, very similar stuff to the HRRR, except a lot more instability. Wow. Very large hail type of soundings tomorrow across Texas. Tomorrow's probably going to be that day where you're going to get a random supercell that fires off and gives you 3-inch hail. Maybe a tornado. Probably not, actually. Maybe a wind gust, I should have said, not a tornado. As you see here, Tuesday afternoon, boom, there go the storms. There go the storms. This is right around, I'd say, 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time on Tuesday. We see the sound you see it again. Very, very grungy at the surface. You're not going to have very much steepening at the surface. Your lapse rates are decent, enough to support isolated large hail. You have some low-level veering to promote some supercell development. You have a decape to support, a lot of decape to support damaging wind gusts, and then you do have enough helicity to support a tornado threat, but it is low. Only thing I'd go slight for would be wind or hail, and that's pretty low shot at happening. As you go on into the evening, we see here a bit more shear ends up occurring. And then, boom! Here's the NAM. Let's take a look at what it shows. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to just take a sounding in the blue moon here in Central Texas. That's not terrible. It's had a bit better shear than what the HRRR and NAM3K are showing. Around the same thermodynamics. See, the storms are relatively short-lived yet again. Tomorrow afternoon, NAM fires off some sort of cluster of thunderstorms there. It's pretty capped off, though. Let me go look at the regular reflectivity. I don't like the other version of the reflex, so... It looks like the NAM really starts firing up stuff at 21Z, which is going to be like 4 p.m. See here, similar stuff to 3K. Not bad sounding right there. Then, boom. Here's when the severe threat really starts to potentially increase Wednesday morning. Soundings like that has some capping in the morning, but that's to be expected. Move along throughout the day, and that's 18Z, and that's going to be your peak time, but we got to shift it over to the southeastern portion of the United States of America. Here's hour 57. Boom. At this point, we're likely going to be seeing in the area of thunderstorms develop. Take some forecast soundings here, right there. We see here a very enlarged photograph at around, I say this is like 11 a.m., 10 a.m. Wait a second. I gotta calculate some stuff here in a second. This would end up being, I think, 10 a.m. So this is 10 a.m., I believe. Wait, no, this would be 11 a.m., but this is, if it's 10 or 11 a.m., who cares? Very high instability. It's in the morning, so we have high instability, enlarged photograph there. Critical angle low support, severe weather, or not severe weather, tornadic activity. Some veering with height with the winds and in the lower levels. A lot of decape. Very high lapse rates, especially in the middle levels. Lower levels are... 18Z is probably peak time. And boom. There's another sounding, very high SRH. What I will say is that we might have a chance for an isolated tornado, strong tornado, but the main threats would be a few tornadoes, scattered, potentially numerous damaging, actually, let's just say scattered damaging wind gusts with some significant gust up to 80 possible because of the decape and the storm mode we're looking at and the high shear with the cape and with the cape combo. But yeah, you see, look here, Central Alabama could become a target later in the day here with a lot of SRH. Okay. I know this doesn't have much cape, but the thing you want to look for along a warm front usually is mixed layer cape and MU cape, and there's some. With helicity like that and a stringwise photograph like that, you only need a little bit of instability, and it's going to go a long way. And you need some middle-level lapse rates and okay lower-level lapse rates. And, my goodness, a photograph like that is just off the charts. Now, of course, if this is a lot higher instability, we'd have problems. And there is a bit of a surface cap, too, which that could preclude envelopment. Here's a little bit further to the west, and we have more instability over here. And we have around the same amount of storm relative velocity. So yeah, this was going to support a more higher tornado threat and wind threat. Because we have that higher instability. You move along throughout the night here. The low pressure kind of dies away and these thunderstorms start to wither away a little bit. Still a semi-conductive environment. And then if we take a sounding like right here, 6C, still there environment-wise. Not as great though. let's go take a look at some synoptic look at 18Z. I always like to do this when I have time, which we do. So let's just look at the synoptic look at things. We probably would have a cold front, something like that, into Texas. Or stationary boundary, I'll call it. And we have a warm front, kind of like that. And then you have your low pressure, kind of like right here. This would be your favorable zone in pink at this point. Anywhere in pink, probably where your favorable zone for severe weather would be. End up taking a look back at the precip, and boom, it's around the same area. Let's take a sounding on like the eastern portion of the favorable zone here. And it's pretty decent, except for the fact that we have a surface cap, which is fine. Yeah, another look at 18Z. Let's take a look at your surface-based cape. It's there. Once it loads, it's 2,000, 3,000, 1,000. That's favorable. Your storm relative velocity. Take a look at that. Again, very high values, especially across Mississippi. This is the area to really watch at this point. Again, let's look at your lower level jet energy, another big aspect in severe weather. And it is lit up in central Mississippi, anywhere between 45 and 66, 65 knots. Take a look at your 500 millibar jet, and it's decent. It's not terrible. It's actually pretty decent. Now, this really isn't. This is more of a zonal flow. It really isn't coming with any sort of trough. And if you do look at the difference here, we have a veering. We actually have veering with height here, especially across this area. This area is gonna have some veering with height. We might be able to squeeze out a window of supercells. Another thing to really look at here, crossovers. They are exceptionally good across, and I'll check off the ones that are good. Good, 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 good. Good. Decent. So we have eight check marks in an area of decent instability. 8. We do end up taking a sounding at this checkmark location here. Let's just take a look and see what we get. And that's actually not a terrible sounding, but it is a bit linear. So that's something. Now, one problem we do have is that the GFS has the event further south, and the other models have the event further south as well. The NAM is really the first model to be bringing it that far north, and the NAM Nest is also starting to agree with it. So, it's interesting. You see, the GFS still has a decent environment in place. Not good, not the best, though. Let's look at the 18Z wrap here. We're just going to take it down to Tuesday afternoon, and it shows an area of convection lifting northward. We're just going to take a sounding right here. Wrap always over-convex, so we're not going to worry about contamination too much unless it's like overly on the sounding. Again, low shear, but high cape. And grunge. We're going to take a sounding down there. See, it's 72 dew point, 72 temperature. Not great. Ew, that's capped and terrible. What about 0Z? Let's just take a sounding right there. That's actually the best. That's the best sounding I've seen so far. Look at hour 51. Let's look at the cape here. We'll look at surface base cape. Let's see here. Okay. So it looks like the cape is there. What about your 3 kilometer helicity? It's not terrible. So it's there again. It looks like it really starts cranking at 0Z. What about your 3K? Let's just look at that. It's not terrible, especially across that warm front. So I think the area to really watch on Tuesday would be in that warm frontal zone right in here. That's the area to watch. Now let's look at your instantaneous flash rate to kind of wrap up what we've been looking at today. So here's a look at the instantaneous flash rate. Boom, the Euro shows that secondary line of strong thunderstorms firing up. Let's look at the 12-0 on. There's Texas tomorrow with those isolated supercells, and then there's that warm front in Louisiana. Here's Wednesday across Dixie, showing that event. Thursday, potentially, of an event maybe in Texas, and then maybe across Florida. We'll see about the Texas thing. Then it shows a southward diving MCS complex. Then it shows an event for Florida. Looks like Florida. Looks like if you live anywhere here in Florida, you're going to be getting hit hard over the next few weeks. Let's just look at that surface-based Cape area. Let's just look to see what it's pumping out. That's tomorrow. There's Tuesday. Oh, that's too far. So here's Tuesday. There's Wednesday. That's that event. Thursday, potential across Florida. It's there. Let's see here. The warm sector, again, it advects over Texas. Florida, again, getting it on stuff. Then at the end of the run, more warm sector. So, yeah, Florida's probably going to be getting a lot of stuff over the next few weeks. But that's going to wrap this one up. If you do enjoy my content, I would appreciate if you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.